It depends on what
fan
bathroom,
robot.
whatever bathroom,
bathroom
you
you're
use
in.
at Target.
I always go in the family bathroom myself. I know that's rude, but
Well, it's a lot more privacy.
I like my room, my privacy. One seater.
Welcome into Carpooling with Ben. Joining me in the passenger seat at Carpooling with Ben, a person from the humble streets of Cranston. Cranston, right?
Yes, that's
Cranston,
right.
Cranston. Tommy DeNucci, sir.
It's nice
Thank you
to officially
so
meet
much
you,
for taking time. You're here. You do a lot of traveling. Just for those of you who may not know, just what is your life like in a nutshell? You're a director, you're an actor, you're a performer on many different levels.
It's a very compartmentalized lifestyle, Ben. I got a lot going on, but I try to take time to focus a little bit on each thing. But it all kind of depends on, what's the kind of flavor of the day. Like, what are we working on? Just finished a film called Vault.
Yeah, you shot
which
that
I'm
in
really proud of.
Providence.
Yeah, we shot that in
Or
Providence.
a lot of it in Providence.
And that tells the true story of the 1975 Bonded Vault robbery, which at the time was the biggest heist in American history. They unloaded about $34 million in cash, gold, silver, diamonds from a mobbed-up secret vault.
Yeah.
That was, off the grid, hidden behind a fur shop. So
The Hudson Fur Salon.
yeah, the Hudson Fur Store. These guys had the audacity to rob this place, and they were kind of, I don't want to say buffoons, but they weren't exactly, the Pink Panther. They weren't exactly, the perfect, ideal cat burglars. They were, rough and tumble, Providence, Rhode Island, knock around guys, and some of them were from, various parts of New England, and just a lot of kind of an eclectic bunch of guys put together to do this job. So I'm really proud of that film. The movie stars Theo Rossi, Samira Wiley, Clive Standen, of course Chaz Palminteri plays Raymond Petriarca, who's a bit of a folk hero here in these parts.
Sure. Well, it depends on who you're talking to as far as folk hero.
That's a true
People with
statement.
a badge might have a different look to it.
Well,
but,
it's funny. It's funny you say that, and I won't quote anyone on this, but I did a lot of research with a lot of retired Providence police guys and law enforcement, and although yes, what those guys were doing was illegal and against the law and frowned upon, there was an odd level of mutual respect for those guys, and specifically for him, because he did handle his business with a level of class, and there was this odd, you could leave your doors unlocked on Federal Hill back then, and nobody would cause any trouble. But of course, that all came with its own set of
there was also
nefarious.
There was
things
also an element of Robin Hood.
There was,
that whole
exactly.
thing too. And,
that's a great way to put it.
It's really interesting. When I talk to people, I traveled recently, and I said to somebody, "Oh, I'm from Rhode Island." They're like, "Oh, I was so hooked on that Crime Town podcast and Buddy Cianci, so I was able to whip out my phone like a true Rhode Islander, and here's a picture of me and Buddy Cianci, this guy right here." And people don't realize that Providence was the third largest mob scene.
It was a hotbed of crime. It really was.
Yeah.
And a lot of that makes sense because let's face it. Let's look at it from a strategic standpoint. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away from both New York City and Boston. It's got tons of coastline.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to smuggle something in on a boat, come on in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's small and it's incestuous in the sense that everybody knows everybody.
Sure.
And if you're my friend, I can probably get you a job at this school over here because my dad works there. And if you know this guy, we can get this done. And there's this phrase, and we use it in the movie business too sometimes, especially when we're making movies in Rhode Island. But I got a guy. Everybody's got a guy in Rhode Island. It's like we all know each other. So I feel like those ties and that tight knit those tight knit relationships helped that style of crime really thrive because we were kind of already known as a crooked little state.
Sure. Albeit a cute.
Yeah, adorable.
It's
adorable little postage stamp.
We are. It's so small.
Look at your little coastline.
Let's say your little islands just hanging out down
Yeah, what
there.
are
Wow,
those?
Just
Are those
beautiful.
rocks?
That's how lovely those are. So this movie, and you had some big news towards the end of shooting, or right after shooting. I noticed you had shared it. It was picked up.
Yes, this movie's currently picked up by the Solution Group,
Wow.
And they're one of the
Congratulations.
biggest. Thank you. Well, you know, it's one of these things where it's a long process, but the Solution Group is basically a foreign sales agent that will take on a film and get it in the hands of, you know, all these different territories across the globe. So, you know, Vault is one of these movies that's going to be played worldwide in over 50-something territories, and we're really excited about that. Now the pressure's on to cut together a great film.
There you go.
So it's kind of funny.
So you're in the editing phase of it.
Yeah, we're in the editing room right now.
How long does that take?
You know, it's one of these things where it's hard to say just like flat out how long it takes, because some films, obviously it takes longer, but I'm on a bit of a deadline, you know, so for me it's been about an 8-week process, you know, maybe 8 to 10 when we're all done. But I really hit the ground running. I mean, like, we haven't taken a break. I've been working with my partner, Sam Eilertson, and we pretty much hit the ground running. End of April, finished the movie, and then, you know, beginning of May, we were in the editing room putting together scenes. And now it's at the point where we've had a chance to kind of take a little time away from it, albeit just a couple weeks. And now we're looking at it with a fresh set of eyes, and we're going to kind of finalize things. And they want me to lock my picture by the end of the month.
You know, you bring an interesting element to it. You started off in the episode by saying you bring that quote slash role to it, where you're not just a director, you're an actor. You've had so many different views and experiences through it. How do you use that to your advantage when doing a director's role, or vice versa, having been a director when you're doing an acting role?
Sure, that really does come into play a lot. Sometimes it's hard because, you know, you want to say something that, you know. It's like, look, man, I know you're only doing this because you want more time to get ready.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're only stalling because you don't like your shirt or whatever. You know, like, a lot of times I'll know, and like, you know, sometimes that information can get you in trouble because you'll say something that, like, all right, don't be overstepping here. But a lot of times you do use it to kind of help understand the situation. And, you know, I've been an actor who's been, you know, had to give a line of dialogue in the freezing cold, and I can't compose myself, and I'm shivering and I can't stop it. So I know if I've got an actor out there and I'm directing them and they're freezing, I know to, like, all right, let's take the extra time. Let's make sure we got blankets standing by. Let's get them in a heating car and then get them out and shoot. You know, like, I know that extra mile to keep them comfortable, because I've been uncomfortable in plenty of situations.
And I think this car right now, he's very easy.
Well, he's got it at about 69 degrees right now.
I try. Well, it's a Rob Gronkowski special.
Uncomfortable 69. And, you know, it's one of these things where, you know, I was just in a movie in Connecticut, and here's where, like, being the actor, you put your director cap on for a second, and you're like, all right, I get it. And, you know, I was working on a movie in Connecticut, and I was very much it's a small part, very much a functionary character. You know, I'm playing a terrorist little brother who gets used as bait in this standoff kind of situation where I get traded for a hostage. And then, of course, spoiler alert, they end up clipping me anyway. Great. So it was one of these things where I had a lot more going on. There was like a little more action to the sequence. Mm-hmm. There was a bit more of a struggle. And then at the end of the day, guess what? That clock's going to tick, and you're going to run out of time. And that just happens. It's an inevitability. So the director had to cut a lot of that stuff. Yeah. And, like, you know, some actors might kick and scream and get upset about that. Whereas I'm like, hey, bro, I've been in your spot. I know what it's like to be looking at your call sheet and be like, oh, my God, we got like 4 pages left after lunch, and we're not even through this first scene yet. Like, I can't do this whole scuffle here, because the important stuff needs to get shot.
Right.
And it's your job as the director sometimes to say, like, all right, what do I need to tell my story, and what's just kind of extra cool stuff that'll help make a better movie but doesn't necessarily push the story. So I got it. At that time, I was extra stuff, and I was like, all right, I'll see you later, guys.
Well, do you feel like in a way that helps make you more of a marketable commodity with what you do? I mean, granted, you have a certain physique, you have a certain look about you, so when you're casting for a role, there are certain elements there, but because you have that other side of things, do you think people are a little more willing to work with you because, okay, he's got the understanding of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps.
I guess it could be two-edged.
It's two-edged. I've had situations where certain directors probably were reluctant to work with a director because they thought that I might be one of these guys who is like, hey, you know, Ben, I think you should probably put the camera on a jib and come down here. All right, I'm going to go back in the scene. And that's never me. Like, I would never do that. I have the utmost respect for the director because I know what it's like to be that guy. And I'll be honest with you, like, I love working. Like, sometimes I'm a little bit of a spy, and I'm seeing, like, what is this guy doing here? Oh, that's cool. Oh, I like that. Like, I worked with a director named Jared Cohen. Shout out to Jared. He works in LA. Really great director. This guy's working all the time. Young guy, cranking out lots of movies. And I was working with him on one film, and he was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to try, like, shooting everything in, like, one shot on this movie. Just, like, as much as I can. Like, get everything with one continuous shot. I was like, wow, that's ballsy, and, like, that's cool. I was like, ah. And then, like, on my next film, I was, like, thinking about Jared. I was like, oh, where can I put a oneer in? Wow. And oneers are great because they take a lot of time to set up, like setting up all your little toys. Yeah. And, you know, but it's one of these things where, like, once you get it, it's like a very, you know, in the business, it's a highly respectable thing to get everything to happen in one take and all this flow and this harmony. Like, that's filmmaking. So it's cool for me to be an actor and be, like, picking up little cues from other directors. Of course, last winter, I had my biggest situation where I got to do that. And that was on the set of The Irishman, watching Martin Scorsese work. And that was one of the craziest things of my life. You know, you have these moments when you work in entertainment, and I know you've done a lot of really cool things too in the business and various forms of entertainment, and once in a while you do things that you grew up dreaming of doing, and for a moment you have this, it might sound corny, but you have this one little moment where you're like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is where we always wanted to be. And I'm about 5 feet away from Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and they're sitting down, and I'm in this scene, and again, back to, I'm very much a functionary. I'm a piece of furniture in this scene. I mean nothing in the scene. I'm just happy to be in the scene. And I'm just watching it, and I see these two guys, these two, you know, gods of Hollywood, like sitting down, going over the scene, and they're in the little table, and then Martin Scorsese walks up, and he just kind of, like, you know, kneels down, he starts talking to him, and, you know, doing his thing. And I got to kind of watch him do his thing. And that was one of those moments where you're like, you're staring, look away. Like, stop staring at them. Like,
wake up.
Bob's gonna look at you, and you're gonna get thrown out of here any minute. So I had to, like, you know, be like, wow, don't look at them too long.
Don't fangirl too much.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
Or fanboy.
Yes, well, whatever. I was fan anything. You know,
it depends on what
fan robot,
whatever bathroom you use at Target. Exactly. You know, that fan.
I always go in the family bathroom myself. I know that's rude.
Well, it's a lot more privacy.
I like my room, my privacy. one seater. But
Your
yeah,
own sink.
That was a magical time. We go from Target bathrooms to in my opinion, the greatest filmmaker of all time. But that's one of those moments that you get to have in the business where you step back and you're like, oh my God, this is the show. You know.
To quote one of our mutually favorite artists, there, you got to respect the process. Ben Folds, you got to respect the process.
It's true.
It was funny because before we started this interview, we were talking a little about Ben Folds, and you recently introduced him to
my assistant Robbie Savage. Yeah. Shout out to Robbie.
Great last name, by the way.
Dude, he's got the coolest name, and when I introduce him to people, they give like this half smirk, like, oh God, it's your stage name. And I'm like, and I actually do this, like, I preface it by saying, I'm like, this is Robbie Savage. That's actually his real name. Isn't that a sick name? It's this, like, thing where I have this gimmick now that I have to go to. He sounds like a bass player to, like, Poison or something, like some 80s hair band.
He sounds like now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, like on the drums.
Robbie Savage!
Do like a solo.
He's never picked up a pair of sticks in his life, by the way.
No, I mean, I love Robbie, but he's a self-proclaimed geek. You know, that's the best part about it.
That's awesome. That's so great. You know, we talked a little bit about, you know, your humble roots from Cranston, Rhode Island. You do a lot of traveling. You do a lot of work all over the place. If you had to give some encouragement, I know you speak a lot at various groups and to a lot of people. If you have to give, you know, one or two pointers to people who are perhaps considering a career like yours in the industry in any capacity, what are a few pointers that you tell people?
I got a couple things that I could hit them with. One is start from the bottom. You know, that's always the best way to do anything. I've always been a big believer in starting from the bottom. You know, and being able to be an extra on a movie or if you're not in front of the camera person, you want to be behind the camera person, being a production assistant on a movie or an intern on a movie. Those are two of the easiest spots in the world to get on. If you just pay attention and keep your eyes open, you see there's posts and there's listings for them all over NewEnglandFilm.com. You go to Boston Casting, all you got to do is take a picture. That's all you got to do is send them a picture of yourself, and they will call you. And you do those entry-level jobs, and you see if you even like it. You know, a lot of people have these dreams about these things, and then they do the job, and they're like, wow, I got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day for 26 straight days, and I can't hang out with my friends on the weekend, and I can't do this, I can't do that. So, like, see if you even like it first, and you know, experience those entry-level positions. I started out as a background actor, you know, an extra on a show that every Rhode Islander has a little place in their heart for. Everybody remembers Brotherhood.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
sure.
That's kind of where I started, and you know, you get to see everything. You know, I remember that was the coolest thing to me when I started as a background actor. I'm like, wow, they really let you, like, just on the set. Like, I don't know any of these people. They let me this close to, like, that camera looks expensive. I can be right next to it. Look at that. Like, I'm like, this is the, you know, like, oh, look at those lights, and hey, that's so and so. That's that actor. I don't know their name, but I've seen them in TV shows. You know, like, I'm right next to them. They allow that.
It's funny that you bring up Brotherhood, and that was your first foray, because believe it or not, that was mine.
Oh, cool.
When I was working with Cardi's Furniture,
Exactly.
we had done just did some, you know, kind of work with them, and because I was in my capacity at Cardi's, I was bringing them a van one night to just have in the background of a scene, so you have a little bit of, you know, just
Nice something in the
a tech
background.
van in the background.
Sure.
It's a brand new Chevy work van. One of our technicians, you know, go out and make repairs and stuff. I bring it at 9 o'clock at night to the location because they're going to use it overnight. It wasn't a director, but it was like one of the PAs
First
or
AD or something.
Comes up to me and says, "This van looks really great. Can we smash it?" we'll take. I'm like, this is brand new, and the guy needs it tomorrow for work, because I had to be back at 6 a.m. to pick up the van so the technician could use his van the next day for work. I'm like, I didn't want to call Nick, Ron, and Pete at 9 o'clock at night. Hey guys, I know you just bought this thing.
You ever see that scene in The Big Lebowski with the crowbar?
They want to smash it. So it was supposed to be a car accident. They wanted to smash it. I said, yeah, I really can't let you do that. And they're like, oh, no problem at all.
But I feel like the Cardi boys would have been like, hell yeah, smash it. This is America.
I just didn't want to wake them up.
I don't know. I've only met the Cardis a couple of times. They've always been very nice to me.
Super great guys.
Yeah,
I
really
worked with
cool.
them for 15 years.
No, they got that. There was that old school personal touch that's going away, and some people still have it, and I really recognize it when I see it. But like, I met those guys one time on the road show, shook hands, whatever, a couple little BS stories. I'm from Cranston. Oh, you remember your first store, whatever. Shook hands, took the picture, and some guy was like, oh, what's your address? And I was like, oh, whatever. Gave him my address. And then like a week later, there's the photo, and it's signed by the boys, and it had a nice little message.
Right.
And that's like that old school personal touch that's fading from relationships. That's, you know, something to kind of think about. You know, people should be bringing back that.
Well,
that extra 5 minutes that you take. I'm gonna send you a picture of me in a week.
You're
gonna be like, oh wow,
I'm pumped about
Tommy
that.
DeNucci picture.
Well, I mean, I think that's also something you could bring to, you know, advice you could give to people who are younger or just looking
Yeah,
into
spend
the
the 2 minutes for that personal touch. Write a letter and say, hey, thank you for letting me production assistant on your show, or thank you for showing me whatever, or, you know, anyone helps you out, take that extra step. But the other thing I was going to say, getting back to the point.
Yes.
How to
Sorry,
help
I have
someone.
ADHD, so I'm
No,
all
me
over the
too,
place.
man. It's me too. Oh, you kidding? I got all these lights in front of me. You people should see this setup. We look like we're inside of a spaceship right now. But the thing that people can realize is, like, we have the technology now in our hands with these phones that we have to make some damn good content, like content that can stand up to anyone. And the truth is, quality is becoming secondary now to content and level of content, what you can achieve on a consistent basis. So to any young kid out there looking to start, man, get a couple friends together, get your iPhone out, write a little story, and shoot a movie in your backyard. You know, like, just do it. You know, you got to do something, and it's so easy to put together a short film, or you could literally do it all on your phone. There's no excuse not to have what I call a little digital calling card, where, like, if you bump into someone, you can say, like, you know, oh, go on this site or go on YouTube or Vimeo, whatever, and here's my movie that I made. Here's my 5-minute short, or whatever. So you have to, don't sing it, bring it. You gotta like do something. You can't just like for a lot. And I had that too. Like that was a mistake I made early on in the beginning of my career. Like especially acting, I was like, I'm an actor. People would be like, what have you been in? And I'd be like, I did. I'll be right back. So like I started like, all right, I'm gonna do theater. I'm gonna do Hamlet at the GAM Theater. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And, I'm gonna do more background work. Don't just say you're an actor. Go take acting lessons. Go act in your friend's short. You can't just say you're a filmmaker. You can't just say you're an actor. You actually like do things that, work towards that goal.
There's a lot of people out there that they never take that first step, and that's the hardest step.
Yeah, it really is. Once you get rolling, you get better and better. It's like anything else.
Looking forward to the future as we wrap up here, Tommy. Anything big? I mean, obviously you're finishing up the editing on Vault. You've got there was another movie you were involved with as well that just came out.
Yeah, a movie called Blackwater is out right now. You can check it out. It's a good old-fashioned action movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren, a couple of old-school action movie powerhouses, and they're teaming up on a sub, and they're about to cause a ruckus down underwater. So it's a fun old school throwback to the kind of like 90s all kind of action movies with lots of fighting, lots of gunplay in places where you should never be shooting guns, like underwater on a submarine surrounded by nuclear weapons.
Frowned upon.
Yeah, they don't like that. And I get to play a little character named Rankin, who I'm one of the soldiers on the sub, who tries to stop Van Damme. What are you thinking? What are you thinking trying to stop Van Damme?
It was a good effort.
I tried.
It was good effort, and
I tried.
Hopefully people will applaud that.
That was a fun movie. Made a lot of friends on that movie, and a friend of mine named Richard Switzer produced that. Really talented producer. And I'm writing now. We're doing a lot of writing. I got a movie coming up, biopic on Maurice Starr that I'm excited to write. He was the brains behind New Edition and New Kids on the Block.
Wow.
He discovered them. He would basically put on talent shows and pick these kids that he thought were talented and put together the group, write their music, and he basically created New Edition, and then things went sideways with them, and then he left and he created the New Kids on the Block, who everybody knows the story. They went on to make a fortune in a very short period of time. And were a bit of a, we laugh about it, but they were a merchandising juggernaut.
Oh, sure.
At one time, there were over 1,000 products with New Kids on the Block stamped on it.
Really?
Out there.
Wow.
Worldwide. 1,000 products.
That's a lot. That's a huge inventory.
Yeah, like everything, toothbrushes and buttons. And my sister was a big New Kids fan.
Yeah.
So she had all that stuff. And,
I could have been the New Kids accordionist, maybe.
Could have been,
So close. If only I wasn't 5 years old when they were out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those things.
But,
Tommy, where can people learn more about you and follow you?
I'm always on the social media. I'm a big Instagram guy. I'm a big Twitter guy. On Twitter, I'm at Tom DeNucci. On Instagram, I'm also at Tom DeNucci.
Are you a stories person?
I do stories.
Okay, good.
I like my stories. Some days I'll take off because I think not every day you can't be living every day inside of a little tiny phone. So occasionally I'll take a day off, but I like to drop a story or two down, and it's fun. It's a nice way to stay connected with a lot of people that you just don't get to see. So find me on Insta, find me on Twitter. And
you are there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Tommy, thank you so much for hopping in the car today, folks. Follow him. Be sure to go see Blackwater now. And when Vault comes out, it perhaps might be one of the last times you ever get a chance to peek inside the Superman building in Providence.
What a wild place that is.
That is
classic American architecture right there.
That's awesome. So, Tommy, sir, thank you.
Thanks, brother.
All right, and now I think I'll get a Rhode Island staple in Delaware or something.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to do a story right now to check out this rig we got set up here. You guys can't see it, but it's pretty sick.